For over a century, three competing stories tried to explain where the Jewish people actually came from. One said Middle East, one said Europe, one said a vanished medieval kingdom on the steppes of Central Asia. In 2022, scientists pulled DNA from a parking lot in Germany, and the answer wasn't any of the three stories anyone expected. This isn't a trivia question. For 2,000 years, Jewish identity has been argued over by empires, theologians, and now geneticists. And in just the last few years, ancient DNA, actual genetic material pulled from skeletons hundreds and thousands of years old, has started answering questions that pure history never could. So let's go back to the beginning. Not the beginning of the argument, the beginning of the evidence. In 2025, a team of geneticists published the largest ancient DNA survey ever done in the southern Levant, the land that includes modern Israel, the West Bank, and Jordan. They sequenced the genomes of 73 people who lived between roughly 2,400 and 900 BCE. People we'd call, broadly, Canaanites. Then they compared that ancient genetic code to people living in the region today. The result? Modern Jewish and Arabic-speaking populations in the region typically carry at least half their genome from those same Bronze Age Canaanite ancestors. Not a metaphorical link, not a religious claim. A measurable, traceable genetic line running through 3,000 years. One important note here, because this matters. Genetics doesn't decide who is or isn't Jewish today. That's a question of religion, law, and community, not DNA. What the science can tell us is where the ancestral threads actually run. But here's where it gets controversial. For over 100 years, one theory kept resurfacing the idea that Ashkenazi Jews, the largest Jewish population today, weren't from the Middle East at all. The theory claimed they descended from the Khazars, a real medieval kingdom on the steppes north of the Caucasus, whose ruling class is said to have converted to Judaism over 1,000 years ago. It's a dramatic story. It's been used to fuel real political arguments. And for decades, nobody had the genetic tools to test it properly. Now we do. Y chromosome studies tracing the direct male line and mitochondrial DNA tracing the direct female line both point the same direction, toward a Near Eastern origin for the founding Ashkenazi population, not a Turkic steppe one. The Khazar theory hasn't been completely closed off by every researcher, but the weight of the ancient and modern genetic evidence keeps pulling the story back to the Middle East, not the steppe. Now here's where the story gets personal. In Erfurt, Germany, there's a building that used to be a granary. In 2013, the city decided to turn it into a parking lot. During construction, workers uncovered something nobody expected: a medieval Jewish cemetery dating back to the 14th century. With permission from the local Jewish community, scientists extracted ancient DNA from 33 sets of remains, using detached teeth, since Jewish law generally prohibits disturbing graves. What they found became the largest ancient DNA study of Jewish history ever conducted. They found two genetically distinct groups living in the same 14th century community, one closer to Middle Eastern populations, one closer to European populations, possibly recent arrivals from the East. And they found something almost unbelievable in the maternal line. A full third of everyone buried in that cemetery descended from a single woman. One woman, centuries earlier. Her genetic signature was still showing up in a third of an entire community. Generations later, direct, traceable proof of what scientists call a founder event. A population so small at one point that nearly everyone alive today descends from a tiny handful of ancestors. So let's go back to the question from the very start. Are the Jewish people not who we thought? In one sense, yes. The genetic record is more tangled, more diverse, and more dramatic than any single legend captured. Bronze Age Canaanite roots. A documented near-extinction level founder bottleneck. Genetic subgroups inside the same medieval town that even the community itself may not have known about. But in the sense most people expect, when they hear that headline that some outside group secretly replaced the historical lineage, the evidence actually runs the other way. The ancient DNA doesn't erase the traditional story. It adds resolution to it. It's less, you were wrong about everything, and more, the truth was more specific, more fragile, and more remarkable than the simplified version anyone was taught. What's happening with Jewish ancient DNA is happening everywhere historians and geneticists are starting to work together. The Irish, the Japanese, the Bantu-speaking peoples of Africa. Every culture that thought it knew its own origin story is discovering the real version is richer, messier, and more interconnected than the textbook version. Identity was never just a story we were told. It turns out it was written into us, quite literally, one generation at a time. So when scientists pulled DNA out of that German parking lot, they weren't just answering a question about one community. They were proving something bigger, that the story written in your blood is almost always more interesting than the one written in the history books. If you want to see what ancient DNA revealed about another settled history, the Roman bloodline myth that just got overturned, that video's right here. Subscribe if you want more of these before they come out.